goes.
Huh?
What reminded me of themselves.
Last time we had was
Okay.
the oldest, and now.
Good
I know,
evening
I know.
and welcome to the Corey Valley Unified Union School District Board Meeting. It's Thursday, June 8th. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first business is the approval of the agenda of a couple of things. One, you can remove under 8C leave requests. We don't have any leave requests. And under 5, making it E to waive the days for Polteny. Waive 1 day for Polteny Elementary and High School. Motion by Mike. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. General public comment. Is there anyone of the public that wants to speak to an item not on the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on. Old business, Polteny High School bleachers update. We're going to send that over to Lewis.
So Polteny High School currently has some bleachers that I believe are about 50 years old at this point. And they've been repaired many times over the years. And they're gotten to the point where they were out of compliance to the rails, I believe, and I guess the width of the stairs going up. So it was brought up at a previous meeting to discuss the discussion point. We went out to bid. We only received one bid from Husky Seating. The bid is for, and it was in the packet, it's for $100,160. And that is for replacement of both sets of bleachers. So when you walk in, there's a larger set to the right and a smaller set to the left. I believe at this time, just the right-hand side is the bigger issue. They're both the same age. They both have been repaired many times, but the right-hand side is the one that's out of compliance at this time. So it is $100,000 to replace both of the sets. If they take care of removal of the existing ones and removal and putting them in the dumpster, that's an additional $8,000. But that's probably something that we could manage in-house for removal. Because we did only receive one bidder, we did have to get a waiver from the state. We did get that approved last week. So at this point, it's just waiting for approval. It would be something that would probably be done in the fall, the late summer or fall, just to, I think they take about 14-week lead time to get the bleachers. So it would be done in time for basketball season. Would be the goal.
And so are we paying from surplus, from the sinking fund?
So my recommendation would be use the capital improvement fund.
And how much money is in that fund currently?
We put an additional 400,000, and then we put 660 to start. So there's approximately.
Okay. Okay. Discussion?
Is that everything? Paint,
These are for
motors,
these are for
railings,
wooden
color,
these are for the
whatever.
wooden. Oh no, these are for the plastic. Yep.
that's
Yeah.
everything, like a month, well, we gotta buy motors, they don't come included, or we gotta do, this is the whole, everything.
No, this is a full replacement. Yep.
Is the only other, does that include the electrical work, or is that something we have to do?
That's what I just got.
A second? I just, from what
Yeah,
they,
your
what,
building's old, like we have a problem, you go to replace an outlet, oh, that's $2, and they go to do it, it's, wow, that's $3,500.
from what they told us, it was, right now we plug it into the wall outlet
Yeah.
and plug it into the
Yep.
bleachers. I think the guy was saying that it's just one of those, you
Yep.
plug directly.
Yep.
in, you have the special outlet there or something like that. I'm not positive. on
Yeah,
how
yeah,
that
yeah.
is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing anything about electrical work. When they just plug in, it says, integral power with tendon control, 115 volt. So I mean, it is saying that there's electric components, but
That would be a.
whether our current outlet could support that, I'm not sure about that piece, but a lot of these times with these projects, I mean, if there's minor electrical work, we just take that out of the local budget.
Yeah, I think it should look at that.
That would come out of the research budget.
So it does seem like under bid clarifications, that electrical work is probably gonna need to be done.
The good news is there are wires and outlets right there, so it's not like you have to run stuff
Okay.
across the gym, so.
Depending on the quality of the conduits there, that's kind of what Tom's getting at.
No, so if you walk into the gym, there's bleachers on both sides.
But just not.
Oh, just one side of the gym,
Yeah.
yes.
What's on
Yeah.
the other side?
It's just a wall.
Just a wall.
Okay, so a motion would be in order to approve the bid for $100,160 from telescoping stands for both sets of bleachers, and that the existing bleachers will be removed in-house.
So moved.
Motion by Linda. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. New business, commingling of ballots.
So at our last board meeting, it was a couple board meetings ago, the discussion was posed to the board around whether or not we can commingle ballots. I reached out to our attorney, Chris Leopold, to discuss this. And the advice from Chris Leopold was, first of all, he said, no, that the Corey Valley Board cannot vote, cannot vote to not commingle votes. You know, it's a tongue twister there, but so what his advice would be that the board would approve the purchase of a tabulator as suggested. Said with statutory language in place, that the only way the board could adjust the Articles of Agreement is to would be well, actually, state law states that you can't adjust it. Only this Board of Civil Authorities can appoint a clerk or commingling. So it said this board does not have the authority to do that. There was I know they asked, I can't remember the exact name of the board up north that has this in their bylaws, but as per legislation in 2019, any district or SU that had this in place prior to that would be grandfathered, but any district that adopted this, so if this board said, well, we're just going to change our bylaws, it would not fall under that. So we'd still have to commingle votes. That makes sense.
So if you had done it prior to 2019, and if we had to have this discussion before then,
Correct.
we would have been able to, but now we
Correct.
can't. Got it.
Right.
Okay.
So what was the part about the clerk again?
So the clerk, the question was, can the board adjust the Articles Agreement to incorporate the clerks, the assistant secretaries, the SU? And Chris said, no, state law states the members of the Board of Civil Authorities has to be on transfer votes. Believes that if anyone's going to change that, it has to be the members of the Board of Civil Authorities, it would not be this board.
So a local Board of Civil Authority could move to have
Correct.
their clerk, if they wanted to be an assistant clerk in the SU.
Correct.
To do that.
Correct.
So that would have to be done in individual jurisdictions. But
Correct.
it could be done.
Yes.
Or we could buy the tabulator.
I would rather try that route because that's what the girls want. They want to travel.
The traveling is, you gotta travel both ways. So, I mean, my wife works on it, so I understand how it works. What would happen is wherever the tabulator is would be wherever the clerk of the SU is. So they
The
could
clerk
go-
of Corey Valley.
Right, so that clerk, so those people who vote in that, let's just use Polley because that's where it is now.
Mm-hmm.
Those votes could be run concurrently through that machine if we had a second machine. They would still have to wait for the other two towns to come.
To run
They
them
would have to
through.
pull the votes out of the machine to recount them by hand to make sure it's accurate. And then if it's accurate, then they can go ahead and use those votes, but then they gotta run the other two towns through the machine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really up to the board and what the board would like to do. So,
So someone still has to, so the tabulator, if there's one tabulator, you still have to bring stuff to the tabulator, right?
Right, you just don't have to
Exactly.
count them by hand, you can just put them in
So
the
there's still,
tabulator.
someone has to travel then,
Right.
Right,
and we're not like getting rid of that problem.
no,
So that, the travel issue is still there, whether we have a tabulator or not.
so
So it's
the
just whether they're
civil
gonna-
board of authority could trump having to take them to one place and say you could count them in your local
That's-
municipality.
correct, that's what our attorney believes.
So we.
So our
could
attorney's
count locally?
recommendation was the tabulator, but that's, it's just his recommendation. The board has,
So you could have a local clerk appointed by the Board of Authority, count those votes in that town, and then report it. They physically don't have to go and meet. Is that what you're saying?
I do not believe, no, because that would be not commingling.
Yes, but, yeah.
So they still would have to transport.
Okay, so
Yeah.
really what we're talking about, who the transporters are.
Correct.
Right now, it is,
JPs.
JPs, whoever the
Right.
JPs are.
I do believe the discussion, Gregor, was just around considering just some of the individuals just didn't want to travel at that time of night, or just thought it'd be easier just to call in as we could during COVID or just report. But post-COVID, we're back to, we cannot commingle.
So it really doesn't change anything because the JPs are gonna do it anyway. I mean, whether it's the clerk or a JP, are you saying that the clerk can do it without a JP, i.e. an individual clerk could take them and wouldn't have to have a companion JP to do it with them?
Yeah, if you're a JP, you don't have to travel with someone. You could.
Oh, no, I think you do, because I checked on that. That's not.
So more than one person
Yeah,
has to be
two
present.
people. Has to be two people, it said. And I kind of thought it was that way too, but I did look it up and my clerk said the same thing, so I'm.
I would assume they would not allow for sole transport. I
Right,
think,
right.
just from a,
So it doesn't really
ethics.
change
Yeah,
anything,
right.
who the JPs are.
It's either
or
gonna be the
It's gonna be
clerk-
two people
The
anyway.
clerk or the JP, and currently clerks don't travel, it's just JPs that
Yeah.
travel.
I would try to see which burden on the clerk, so it doesn't make a difference.
It's the burden is on the clerk, whoever is the clerk for Corey Valley.
Yeah.
So buying the tabulator allows wherever the tabulator is to count in that community.
And that should be faster in theory.
They still have to take them out to count, I believe. So they
Okay.
physically, even though the machine says 500, I believe that they have to take those out and make sure it's accurate.
They only have to, if.
So I don't want to
it's-
spend money on a tabulator if we're gonna count them anyway, like that's, and it's not solving
Well,
the
you
travel
you
issue.
still, you don't have to, I don't think, we'll have to get clarification.
Yeah.
I don't,
Hand count that's tested.
it's, you have to take them out if, like, it says, if it does the tabulator, it kicks them out, the tabulator marks them invalid. It's no different than anything else when
Right.
you do it the municipality, so.
I mean, I'm not opposed to a tabulator. It just seems like, is it worth spending money on that if it's not really solving our issue here?
Well,
That's all.
it is a better issue because when you go to count, when you
It-
get there,
It's helping.
I take Proctor.
Yeah.
So we have to count Proctor to make sure if she says there's 852 that voted, that I have 852 ballots, right?
Yeah.
Bolton needs to do that. West Rutland needs to do that.
Right.
If you're off, then we all wait while you count again till it marks up.
Okay.
And then we put them on the table and spread them all around, even though they're all the same color and look the same.
Right.
And we count to make sure that whatever those three numbers are, that's what we have. And that's when you end up counting and counting and counting. So the
Okay.
tabulator would help in that respect
Okay.
because you could put them in as a town. So you wouldn't have to vote. You wouldn't have to, yeah.
You mean, like you put all the same
Well-
town in like
Yeah,
consecutively
I
It's not
and
gonna
then do the
differentiate
second town?
between, because it just looks
It
at the
just-
number. It doesn't
yeah,
care
the
what it's
ballots
not.
are all the
Right,
same.
Right, but
Yeah.
isn't
That's-
that not commingling then if we're doing them like,
Well, you're putting them all in the tabulator.
I mean, I don't know.
You don't know what the outcome is, but you know how many voted,
I get that.
which doesn't change anything because the clerk would know how many people voted anyway, so
Yeah.
that doesn't
Right.
change anything. You just don't know how it voted.
Right, no, I
So,
get that.
if-
I just,
If that speeds that
If
process.
you want, I
up,
could bring clarifying questions back to Chris.
Yeah, I think we need.
Back-
and I think we should talk to
Or the
parents,
clerks,
too. I
the
think
Can we
clerks.
get
clerks.
people
Yeah.
not to travel or no?
No, they're gonna have
That's
to
the-
travel.
no.
You're still gonna have to
Here,
travel.
we can't do anything about it.
No,
At
because
least not.
we didn't have that in our bylaws, so.
Yeah. We can't change it.
Because when we
don't
first
have-
did
this
bylaws,
board
they
doesn't
told
have
us
the
we
authority.
had to do it like that.
Yeah, I know,
Like,
right. But I think our,
I don't mind.
so our
tabulating. I was
select
just trying
boards,
to get rid of-
does
Huh?
that mean our select boards could vote to change the
No.
code
No,
language?
the Board of Civil Authority.
No,
is a
that's
separate board.
Separate board.
And if they did it, we could do it or.
Somebody's gonna have to travel.
Yeah, you're still
We
gonna have
can't
to
get
take
out of
it
travel.
wherever that.
That's really what the
clerk is.
big beef was. It wasn't the counting
No,
so much, it was the travel. That was the beef.
And then,
Could they move the counter to different town
No,
every
it's
year?
the- well,
It's the
it should be
clerk
the
of your-
the-
Of Corey Valley.
Right, so the clerk's in Holt, so if that were to change, if
That's
the
the
clerk
clerk.
became West Rutland or Proctor, then that machine would go wherever that clerk is.
Well, the
Okay.
tabulator just hooks
Okay.
on to the current machine. It's not buying a whole new machine. It's just a piece that goes on. That's what Middletown, that's what Well Springs has. Like after she does the municipal, then she puts the tabulator on for the school. It's not a separate machine. It's a piece that goes on. the
like an
machine.
attachment kind of.
Do the clerks want a tabulator?
That's what Betsy suggested,
Yeah.
and she's our clerk.
If they want a tabulator,
But I
I
think.
mean,
we-
they don't ask for much.
Right, but I think that was with the understanding that maybe that they were only gonna have, there was, still wouldn't be the
have to
commingled
travel.
part, so the
Yeah,
travel
travel.
parts. I think that's, we need. to
No, I
clarify
think
that.
she realized that. I mean, because she looked into it and sent us emails. I don't think she thought that wasn't going to happen. She just thought having the tabulator would make it
Yeah.
easier.
She's
I
not
mean, I could
traveling,
go
so
back.
she doesn't-
I don't have that email with me this evening, but she's the one who did the initial research and sent us, how much it was gonna cost and like that.
Okay.
So, yeah, she did that on December 9th.
And
So,
how
But
much
there is a
was it?
ballot cost
yeah, we pay for the ballots, yeah.
and the free ballot and the re.
Cause she talked about, you know,
Do you have the cost there, Lisa, just to refresh our memory?
I think she said it was like $5,000, isn't that? Yeah,
That's just for the tablet, not for the ballots.
no, but we pay for the ballots every year anyway. I mean, it's
I
not
don't know,
changing that. So. I mean, we had surplus funds we could pay it out of, or we could pay it out of, I don't know. The sinking fund.
We don't have to do it. I mean, we can wait until we have clarification. No.
Well, what are the questions for clarification so we can ask Chris Leopold? I mean, I just want to leave here knowing what those questions are. So, because I do know there is some lead time on ordering that.
I don't know, I don't think anybody's against the tabulator. I think we're just trying to get people to not have to travel. It doesn't seem like it's gonna work.
No, that's not going to be.
Yeah, I
a
don't think
piece of
that counters.
it. Okay,
Right.
I believe.
Well, I just was like if it's gonna help, and it's $5,000 seems like kind of a lot of money to me, but if it's gonna help make things go faster and make their life easier, and it will last for a while, I'm fine with it. It just seems,
well, I know that's what, Middletown Springs, they had
They
a
have
tabulator down there, and that's what they've been using. And, because Eric did speak about that.
okay.
It says Wells School District using the Town of Wells tabulator. Nord has closed the polls and completed the end of night election processing for election. She puts in another set of program cards from the LHS. Then when the school arrives, they put their ballots through the tabulator instead of hand counting. It is a much faster process. We would still need to count the ballots first for each school just to verify the number of ballots match of voters. So it would just be the one time. Then we can put through the tabulator. The estimated cost for this is $1,215, which would go up if pricing increases. The Corey Valley could purchase their own tabulator for an estimated $5,500. This is a one-time charge.
But there's a program you charge for a reelection.
Yes.
Right.
So is that what that 1,000 was like? So that's like to
That's about the same number my clerk gave me, was about $1,200
Yeah.
per
So-
election.
So every
if there was
election, there's
reason we
a,
had to have second
so there's a
election,
recurring cost
Right.
of $1,000 to $1,200
Right.
plus the
The
purchase of the
initial
thing.
cost of the tablet.
So we're talking in the first year's $6,000-ish dollars
Yeah,
Almost
plus an
7.
ongoing 1,000.
And then the ballot cost, which we pay for already.
If you'd like
Right,
to
that's
talk
already-
to Betsy and even Nora.
well, I mean, this is from Betsy and from her speaking with Nora. I mean, Betsy had originally thought we could do like Taconic and Green. Because they did a special election to establish their commingling, but that, because of what Chris
Chris
explained before, that's what we can't do, so.
To the state.
Well, and that was the state when we first, if you remember, when we first merged, they said that we had to have that in our,
Yeah.
so.
That's required. Geography matters.
I don't think so. So the question is, do you want to go another month? Do you want to authorize the expenditure with, giving Lewis the authority to go speak to Betsy to make sure this is exactly what it is that she wants to do? I mean, we talked about it the night, in March when we were setting their accounting. And she was like, wouldn't a tabulator be nice? I was like, sure. Or do you want to, and like I said, the piece is just because I know there is, with all of those stupid counting machines, some time with getting pieces to it. I mean, I know our clerk complains constantly about the machine.
And it's something that lasts a while, right? It's not, it's
kind of just like a feed trip. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's if we're not having an election, then it's not going to be part of that machine that you put your ballot in. So, I mean, I think the key piece is just to make sure that what we're purchasing could move from community to community, that all of our 3 community machines are compatible.
That would be good to check, just to make sure we're buying something that doesn't only work in one town.
And I don't know, I mean, the machine we've had for a very long time, so I don't,
Yeah.
I don't know what it
This
is.
tabulator is like a feed sheet.
Yeah.
Rather than, because when you vote individually, you just feed it. So this way it may speed things up because then they can just feed.
Yeah, no,
feed it
I'm,
through, which
Yeah.
Would be a help.
yeah. Speed
So,
it.
You're still gonna have to
Feedback is fine.
hand count one time when you first get there,
Right,
just to make
the
sure.
numbers- Right.
In the drive over there, you didn't take 20 ballots out and throw them out the window, so,
Right,
or add 20. So,
right, okay.
so could a motion be in order to authorize Lewis to speak to Betsy, and if this is, the purchase, to, authorize a purchase not to, be over $8,000?
So moved.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Louis, for offering to do that. Community use of school facilities. This is the application for the use of the facilities, and this was something we had talked about at the last meeting, that everyone, just so one, we're all using the same form, and 2, that the fee is being addressed the same also. The only thing I think should maybe be highlighted is where it says I, the undersigned, and it says we'll provide a current copy of liability insurance. I wonder if that just shouldn't be bold in there, because it doesn't really speak to insurance anyplace else in the application, and that's kind of a big piece. If they don't have that, then you can't use it. So I would hate for someone just to like start checking off without really reading that.
Maybe it should be the first thing then. Pull it up
Yeah, I
and
don't know.
highlight it.
Because honestly, I read the whole thing and I was like, Jesus, it doesn't mention insurance anyplace. So I went back and read those. Any concerns about it from anyone? Price wise, just anything?
Without publication, you know, if we go down the road in 2 years, we can adjust the fees if we need to without.
Yeah,
Yeah, those fees still,
What do you charge for the gym?
the custodial fee on here is 30 an hour. Maybe charged based on type and time of event.
Right.
The custodian get all that?
No.
no, that's just the fee because the custodian is there.
Could we do something?
It says,
Charge 30 or 40 and that guy gets it, or girls ever work in that event? Or no, it doesn't.
No,
They seemed nice to award them for working.
Yeah. I
well, they're
like that.
getting paid.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Those would they be getting overtime if that was a Saturday?
I mean,
Depending on what the rate
if
is.
they're over 40 hours, so if they work the full week and then they're also working Saturday.
So they would get some
Yes.
compensation.
Unless they decide they want to work Saturday, Friday, they have
Yeah.
manpower to do
they
that.
could switch out. Did you want to speak to this at all, Chris, or?
No, I just need to know the fees, what the board feels comfortable with.
Yeah.
I do know that, you know, if you look at the reasons for waiving, I think that provides a lot of leeway to, you know, building administrators. And so therefore, while one building administrator may choose to waive, one may not. So I think that's just another thing we just have to look at amongst ourselves, consistency with the fees, the fee usage. So because if someone says, you know, like, you know, what really defines like a school-based event or nonprofit organization, or, you know, so I know that in the past, teams have, or, you know, individuals have allowed the use of a space in exchange of goods. So they might be able to take a group to a camp or to an event in lieu of payments. And I don't necessarily have an issue with that, but I think that's also part of just, you know, waiving. So still will be some inconsistency there, but
$100 a day though, that seems.
that's what had been there. And so if the board would like to adjust that, I'm not opposed, whatever the board.
yeah, what do you guys think
Yeah.
as building administrators? Do you think this looks?
Rather the case by case scenario, just. That
Yeah, but someone do
AEUT
it.
wants to use it, and it's gonna serve us in our community, you know, I
Yeah.
think there's a conversation around it, obviously. If there's concerns, we meet with them, I usually meet with anybody that puts one in anyways, just because.
Right.
I would kind of like to see like you do with a car rental. I'd like to see like a $500 deposit up front and then deduct whatever out of that rather than, well, a couple organizations that I've been involved with who rented places out, we did it similar to this. And there was some degree of trashing. And if we put a little higher price on it, people tended to want to get that money back. So they took a little better care of it. That's what I have found.
The damages that.
Yeah, so like, you know,
I think most of the organizations that were, from what I've seen, that were renting it out to, has been either school run events or nonprofit organizations that are renting out facilities. As far as, I mean, $100 a day, there's not a lot of organizations that were actually charging. I think the main one that we were charging is like AAU.
so what would be the problem? Do a deposit then. We're not charging them.
No, I mean, if the board wants to do a deposit, then that's fine.
Or do we want $100? Does it even pay for a cost?
Some places, like when we rent our room, we do it in blocks, like you do it like 3 hours blocks. So you pay that way.
Yeah, my big thing, like you say, if it's the town stuff or kids in the town, whatever, that's all free, but
Right,
you get these money machines, AAU coming through that are making $10,000 in a weekend, and they're giving us 100.
Yeah.
That's costing us money. It costs more than $100 to rent that gym out from 8 to 7. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's,
Would you like the idea of what Lisa said about a block? So maybe the first 4 hours is $100 and then it goes up.
No, I think
after
AAU should. Gotta be a better way. It's costing us money for them to make money, and that doesn't seem, I don't mean.
There's some degree of wear and tear, wear and tear.
No, I think AAU.
Like where to
Yeah.
use a money machine there. Oh my God.
We've only had practices of what culture.
Yeah, but you have them at the high school. We've had them at the high school.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have them on the week. They have them like all weekend. And they start at like 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. Yeah, it's a big
There's a
thing.
lot of people
They're
coming
making
in and
it, yeah.
out. There's trash
Yeah, they're
removal,
making it,
there's
yeah.
Yeah,
bathrooms,
there's a lot.
there's-
There's a lot of people in and out, so.
And they're usually doing a bunch of gyms in the area. We're
Well,
charging
we
$100 And it's costing more.
Do you want to put this on for the July agenda to
Yeah, just
come
we
back
can-
with ideas? We're probably not going to be using the gym or doing that here in the
Yeah,
next
yeah.
month because we're going to be doing work on the school. So if people want to maybe bring back other places, other suggestions where you can rent rooms, what that looks like, what those expectations are, maybe bringing back samples, that would be a good idea.
Yeah, if there are ways to see what other even schools are charging, because for these for-profit folks, of course, essentially, if they're going to shop around, I imagine potentially for prices too, right? If they're, so what are our other local folks charging?
Okay, so we can do that and we'll place that back on the agenda. All right, Proctor High School roof replacement. It's like a big night to spend money on.
So this actually won't cost you too much.
Yeah.
So this winter, Proctor roof had some damage due to ice dams on the roof, which caused a rip in the rubber membrane. It is a flat roof with a rubber roof. There was some damage. We put an insurance claim. Insurance covered everything that was over $2,500. They also are covering for the replacement of the roof. We received the check so far for $61,000. And once we have a contract and a scheduled replacement, they'll send us an additional $95,000 for a total of $156,000. We're not sure what the cost of the roof will be. We have gone out to bid. Bids are due back at June 19th. Bids are due back June 15th. So at the July meeting, we will discuss those bids. But I just wanted you to be aware of it, so there wasn't a surprise when you saw that in July meeting.
Sounds good. Good news from Lewis for once. All right.
I guess they'll get it right one.
Corey Valley Board Work, effective communication. This goes into board retreat, so everyone's doing board retreats.
It's more than board retreat, so I think we could we maybe put it toward, I should have done that at the beginning and I apologize. Maybe we should put that at the end of the meeting. Because we may end up having more than just board retreat.
Okay, what would we like to discuss here?
I think it would be better if we waited till the end of the meeting, then we can discuss it and bring it up.
Do we have a date for our board retreat yet, or is that what we were gonna?
That's what we were discussing.
Oh, okay.
Apparently there are things on the agenda that are moving around now, so. Do you want to have the board retreat at the July meeting, at a different meeting? Do you want a facilitator? What would the board like to do?
I think July meeting would be good, except I better see what
When
that
is the
date
July
is. I mean,
Second. There's first.
It was the 5th, was Wednesday, so the 6th.
The 13th.
Wasn't it?
It's
No.
July 13th.
Okay, I thought it was the 6th.
Well, that would have been, the SU would have been the 5th, right?
Right, and I thought we were the Thursday, so the SU we moved to Wednesday. So wouldn't it be the 6th?
It's the
the
second
second Thursday of the
Thursday.
month.
So it's the second
13th.
Thursday would be the 13th, right? Yeah.
Yep.
My mistake, thank you.
Does the board want to have a retreat? Do you just want to have a regular meeting?
regular meeting.
Last time we called it a retreat because it was just us, but we had it as if like the timing was as if the regular meeting. Right? Is that what you mean, Tom, in terms of regular meeting? Do you mean the content is as if we're doing a regular meeting?
Yes.
Or we have specific retreat items that we just talk about as a
He
board?
wants us to have a regular content
Yeah,
meeting.
I'm only one guy. Treat is
That's fine, I just.
It's
trying to
the same.
understand.
thing every time. Somebody comes in and draws.
Well, we don't
Well,
have
we
to have
don't
a
have to have, you
facilitator.
don't have to have a facilitator,
Yeah.
but you need to have a general idea of what you're gonna discuss.
What- Yeah, content wise. Um. okay.
Will the strategic planning be kind of done and solidified and shared by then? I mean, that might be something that would be interesting, if it is, to dig into a little bit.
So the strategic plan's will be discussed more at the SU board level.
But we could talk about
Just
it
in
at
terms of
the,
it, you know,
So-
everyone's going to be becoming familiar with it
Mhm.
and informing future direction. So if we're thinking about what we're doing for the next year, making sure that things are plugged into the directions that are being set forth in the strategic plan.
So I think that's where there's that balance of policy versus procedural pieces. And I think where the board at the SU approved the goals and strategic initiatives. And our goal would be to, in September, to bring it back to the SU board. Here's what year one looks like. We'd be more happy to discuss, but I think part of it is like the board sets the direction, and then it's our job as ministers and say, here's how we're going to get to that point.
Yeah,
And so I think that's where, but I'm saying is like in July, I don't think we'll have that. We have the draft of the goals and strategic initiatives that we could.
That was my question.
Share
Not
it
everyone
back
in this
out.
room went to the meetings where even those big picture ideas were being developed. So that was more what I was suggesting.
Right, and I
just
think
that piece
it's the
of it.
conversation.
I understand,
think.
but I think one of the things that I want to encourage a conversation, but I also, and I'll just say, I was disappointed that we didn't have more board participation in our portrait graduate strategic planning throughout this process, where individuals had an opportunity at that time to really kind of set forth a vision, and I appreciate those that came, but those that didn't, it seems it's kind of that we can discuss that and look at where we're going through. I have an issue with that. My concern always is just how far in the weeds does the board get? And there are certain things that it's administrators' job procedurally to say, here's, the board sets the goals, here's how we're going to achieve those. And so we can, we can discuss that in July, we can go through that. I don't have an issue with that, it's not a problem. My concern is just when boards start blurring lines and start moving to procedural pieces.
Yeah, there's something else. That's not what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Personally
I
at
mean-
all. I think too, and if it's not ready till September, that's great. If the timing isn't working out for July, it was sort of just everyone gets a chance to look at it and chat about it was sort of what I was.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a strategic plan that only the SU board is involved with, then that's the SU board. But if we are integrated into that, which I feel like we are, it seems like it would be nice to have, at least a focused look on not procedure, but like, what is the strategic plan about? Like, how does that inform our vision as Quarry Valley? It's that, that kind of conversation, not like.
And we are going to be sharing that out with these, I was going to do it, but I was a bit busy for the past day or so.
Yeah.
But we are going to share out what was approved at the GRCS board meeting
Yeah.
on Tuesday with everyone to view. And
Yeah.
I do think at local boards, we can discuss this, whether we through a retreat. I think it's, the more we can discuss it, the better. I don't have an issue with that.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to do that in a regular board meeting, that's
Yeah,
fine too.
right,
I
too,
mean,
totally.
whenever, it's fine. I just
So-
think it's something like if people worked on it, it's going to be executed. And if it's not discussed here, that seems like a
Right.
shame. So I feel like in this board, it would be worth it to have a discussion, whether that's a retreat or not. I don't know.
I would like to see more discussions around academics and around what's going on in schools as opposed to some of the other things that are discussed. So I have no problem bringing all this strategic plans. Yep.
So it doesn't have to be a retreat. We can just have a conversation
Yeah.
about the document. Obviously, I mean, we voted on the document, so it's not gonna change the document.
Right.
The document stands
Yeah.
as it is. We all voted for it. But to just have, yeah, I like that, the way of just having a conversation and talking about how it affects Quarry Valleys, just the students, the community, and the staff. Yeah, I like that idea.
So
Instead of
that's
a retreat.
September.
Okay.
We're talking about July.
Anybody else want to have a retreat? Focus on, how we do what we do, or what we could be doing better or differently, or nobody wants to, then nobody wants to. So
All right, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Approval of the minutes. Motion will be in order to approve the May 11th minutes. Motion by Mike. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Okay.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Approval of warrants. Receive your warrant through GRCSU email. All questions should be directed to Lewis. Motion will be in order for the approval of warrants.
moved.
Motion by Kristen. Any discussion?
Just had a question. What are we gonna do E on your business?
What did I say E was? Oh, yeah. Yeah, can we
Okay,
just,
yeah,
we'll take
okay.
a vote on this.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. I'm sorry, I wrote E down. Didn't write it was. A motion will be in order to waive June 7th, one day for Pulteney Elementary and Pulteney High School.
So moved.
Motion by Kristen. Any discussion?
Why?
Because the school was closed.
Okay. Oh,
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Superintendent's report.
Thank you. Majority of this information is for informational purposes only. Just one thing I would like to highlight, that is just around the final legislative updates. That you see here that it has been delayed. There's a veto session scheduled for June 20th. After that session has occurred, they will then begin to compile an update in terms of what these new bills mean for us, particularly here at Fort Valley, the impact on our schools. We'll have that hopefully for the July board meeting. If we do not have that in time for the July, we'll definitely have that for the August board meeting as well. The rest of it, you can see about PCB sampling. We do have this summer, Pulteney High School is in line for PCB sampling. So we'll be working with Rich Holcomb and Joe DeBonis and getting that scheduled. And we should have results hopefully by the end of the summer, or early fall. But typically it's taken between 6 to 8 weeks to get the results back.
Right.
What's that?
That's the last school that.
Yes. So, and once we receive results, we'll share those out. We are still waiting on results for West Rutland right now. So once we have them, we'll share them. I did want to take this time just to discuss, and I know that we have a large number of attendees, both online, if you're here in person, just to discuss a situation that occurred in Pulteney, was brought to it. So yesterday, about midday, there was some concerning conversations and rumors that were swirling around Facebook, Facebook pages, and other social media areas. So once Mr. DeBonis brought this to my attention, we then contacted Tom Curran, our school resource officer, a member of the Rutland County Sheriff's Department, and then we contacted the Sheriff's Department, the Vermont State Police, as well as the Vermont School Safety Center, and began an investigation. And I did send out a communication around 3 o'clock or so yesterday around the early information we had and our early investigation had proved that there was no findings to this. But I had asked for any sort of information. And I just want to clarify, because when we say like no findings or no credible threat, these are things that are being determined by the Sheriff's Department and the Vermont State Police. Is not something that myself or Mr. DeBonis or Mr. Roach or Ms. Madison or any administrators make that determination. we turn that over to the law enforcement. That's part of how we handle the situations. So when I asked for more correspondence, I was very pleased that there are a large number of individuals, Foley residents who felt compelled to share information that they had, some tips. And at that time, we believed that, as we shared this with state police and sheriff's departments, that it would be prudent for us to close school today, both Fulton Elementary and Fulton High School, just to allow give our law enforcement agencies time to thoroughly investigate this possible incident, as well as also to kind of set forth plans. We thought it would be irresponsible for us to wait till 9:30, 10 o'clock at night to make a decision. And so we tried to, get ahead of it and just let people know for peace of mind. We do understand this is, there's a lot of anxiety around this, a lot of fear. I know that there has been a lot of confusion around the notion of the term threat. I'm well aware of what is going on in the community of Poultney, some of the concerns around students, around individuals. I've spoken with Brooke Colson Farrell, the superintendent over at Slate Valley, about there's a regional concern about some of the things that are going on with just students and decisions that are being made about how we can best handle this. And we're not talking disciplinary, but I think we're also looking at, best meet needs of all of our kids and what that approach looks like. This response that we had was regarded to a specific, series of, scenarios that were portrayed. It was not about something that occurred last week or something that occurred at Shaw's or something that occurred. Well, this is about something that's swirled around. And I have to be very careful because I can't get in specificity, because there was not specificity. It was more based around second, third, and fourth hand information. And so when we gave the information to the sheriff's department, the state police, they did their investigation. They visited homes, they did searches. And so when they made the determination that the scenario that was a possible scenario was a non-credible, that's what that we were referring to. And so when we said that the schools safe to reopen tomorrow, it's because of this scenario that was present. It's not to say that what has occurred in the past that we've somehow waived or not taken seriously, but it's in regard to this specific scenario incident. I have asked our school resource officer, Tom Curran, who was a large part of this investigation, to be here if he has anything he'd like to respond or say. But Tom, is there anything you want to add to that? Or
for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm Tom Curran. Just to give you a background, again, all the agencies were investigating all last night. The administration and law enforcement worked very well last night. We needed time to look at everything, and I think we had that time to make a good decision.
And like I said, I just want to reiterate that the determination of the non-credible threat was regard to this situation that Tom and the county sheriff's department, state police had looked into, but if there the other concerns that was not part of this investigation or scenario.
All right, thank you. Principal reports. Our 2 stars here this evening.
Thank you. My absence for the last 2 months was just because we were holding pre-planned music events in the school. So it's nice to be back. Thank you, everybody. My report is in the packets that you received, and we had a really fun month of May. It is a nice time of year to spend with kids. Lots of field trips. Our annual 6th grade field trip. I was fortunate enough to attend this year, so got on the bus at 5, rolled off the bus at 10 o'clock. The evening, spent a really fun, beautiful day in Boston, interacting with families and kids in just a different way. It was incredible, and the kids are still talking about it. So some of our other classes participated in events as well as the school year is ending. We held our field day, modified, unfortunately, with the cold weather yesterday, and the staff and students kind of rallied to make that a really fun event. There was a reading wars challenge where students decided they were going to read 15,000 pages, and if they met that, I got a pie in the face yesterday. And so they succeeded that with 16,000. And there's some video somewhere of me receiving a pie in the face. So all in good fun, and it was really energetic for the kids. We're looking at our pool day on Monday, really hoping the weather holds out for that. And looking forward to that community event. I've always experienced it as a program leader for an after school program, so to be able to be there with families and students is going to be something I'm looking forward to. Before I pass it off to Mr. DeBonis, I just wanted to take an opportunity to recognize and thank Lori Serrani. When we come back to the July board meeting, she will have since retired. And I just think it's really important to recognize that she's been with Proctor Elementary for 15 years. She's worked with 3 different administrators, and she's been very, very helpful, you know, building the community. She's been more than helpful for me this year. And I just wanted to publicly recognize her dedication to Proctor Elementary. For sure, well, in retirement.
Thank you. Joe?
Excuse me. My apologies, there wasn't a board report in. So a few things going on, but I'm going to talk about the positives in my building.
Great.
I'll top this. We went on a senior trip. I got on the bus at 3 in the morning and Saturday morning and got back at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was at school the next day. But anyway, but no, the senior trip went really well. Great group of kids. There's been some good stuff going on, end of the year projects going on. Our 8th grade math class, or in high school math class that Ms. Holmes did, had some wonderful art final projects coming in the other day, and they look great. You know, a lot of initiative from the kids. Our guitar class had their concert. I call it a concert. I know it's not a concert recital, whatever you want to call it. But again, a lot of good things. I got silly string because the 7th graders did so well with their in the math class, moved up and stuff like that. And I was a little late going in. Mrs. Kerber stepped in and got the beginning of it, but then they got me at the end. So, you know, just again, there's a lot of positive things going on in our building, in our town. And I know there's a lot of negative right now, but, you know, I will say, you know, and Tom said it, we worked really well last night, and it wasn't just an easy decision just to say, we canceled honors night last night. We're looking at how we're going to, you know, we schedule it or what we're going to do, but, you know, but people rallied around. There's been got some emails and communication from some parents and families about what can we do to help? Is there anything we can do to help? So, you know, I'm going to keep stressing the positive things. Graduation tomorrow night. I know people aren't going to believe me, but we always plan for outside. But I told my wife yesterday morning, I said, I'm going to be in the gym, just looking at the forecast. It looks like some thunder showers in the we don't want to get all set up and then have it rain, like even if it rains at 3 in the afternoon, but it's going to be clear at 6. So, you know, little things like that. But again, end of the year stuff went really well. And again, I'm just going to focus on the positives here. So.
Good deal. Thank you. And our other principals have events at their schools this evening. That's why they're not with us. Before we move out, Lisa Maxon, do you want to give us, at the last meeting, we talked about proficiency-based grading, changing the system, changing from a 3 to 1.5, and there might be a clarifying issue, and I think we need to make a new motion, and Lisa Maxon's going to kind of walk you through that because everyone was here and we discussed it.
Thanks, Lisa. And I'm sorry, Jen and Jay aren't here tonight to contribute to this conversation. If there's questions, I will do my best since I wasn't at the last meeting. But what our intention was with the shift was to change the passing grade for credit for a course from a 3 to a 1.5. But our intention is to keep proficiency for the standards that are being assessed at a 3. And I think the wording of the motion was a little tricky in that very complex, nuanced, subtle distinction between the two things. So we were looking for a motion to change the passing score for credit for a grade to 1.3. But the proficiency, that doesn't need to be part of the motion, but the proficiency would remain the same.
One
If there are
point,
any,
or 1.5.
1.5, from a 3 or 1.5.
yeah, and if there are any questions about that, again, having not been part of the conversation, I'm happy to try to address those.
Why are we changing it?
So it's changing the credit, receiving the credit, not changing the proficiency. Because the way it sets now, it becomes inflated. Everyone has to have received a 3 to receive the credit.
So they don't have to do as much?
No.
No.
It was never, when this was, passing and proficiency were never meant to be aligned together. So, and what this is doing is a student, so currently right now, in order for a student to pass a class, they need a 3 for proficiency. When we have a conversion scale in place, because, you know, this is unique to the 9th through 12th setting, we convert that 3 to a 3.0, which is equivalent to a B. And there's a bit of, you know, grade inflation going on because not everyone is at a 3, really is at a 3.0 or a B. So by going back to doing what other schools in the area are doing is the fact that proficiency and passing are kind of separated, which is what it really should be.
Think of it as a D, a 1.5. The only way I could understand it was I thought of it as kids could pass at a D. Okay, but then, and a B was higher. So they're saying that you can be proficient, you're gonna,
So you could get like a B minus and still pass.
right. So think of it like
I
that.
lived in that.
Yeah, think of it like that. Because that's the only way I could sort of put it together.
That's what
But you're still talking about
So they're not-
proficiencies.
dumbing it down, they're just.
Right.
It's just
right.
changing.
What's happening is people could not pass.
Yep.
Right,
And that was the problem.
because we're thinking everybody's passing with a B,
Right.
and not everybody's doing that.
So a motion would be in order to change the passing grade for credit from 3.0 to 1.5.
So moved.
Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, everyone.
Moving on to finance. Lewis.
So the only thing I'm out tonight is the tax anticipation note. We sent out earlier today. So each year we get a line of credit loan from the bank to help fund our expenses until we start seeing revenue come in. So the year starts on July 1st, but our first revenue doesn't come from the state or from the treasurers until September. So we need funds to cover payroll and purchasing from July to September, and then throughout the remainder of the year. So the last few years, we've just stuck with the bank that we use for our everyday banking because it simplifies the transfers in and out to make payments. So our proposal tonight is for a loan and the interest rate is 4.67%. And it's for $3.9 million. It is a line of credit, so we just take what we need and then we can make payments to pay it off when we don't need it to reduce interest. This past year, we did not use our line of credit at all due to the amount that we had in surplus and reserve funds. So our interest cost last year was 0. In previous years, we did need to use the line of credit because we didn't have that reserve fund sitting at that level. Also, a couple of years ago, the board allowed us to use we have money sitting in our trusted scholarship accounts. So to take loans from our own account to use for everyday cash flow and pay back at the end of the year to have the total interest payments. I don't anticipate that we will need to use this next year, and or if we do, it'll be a very small amount in the surplus that we still have sitting on our books. In those reserves, we have a maintenance reserve fund, and we also have our extracurricular reserve funds, and then we also have that trusted scholarship fund we need on a temporary basis. But it's there as a safety net in case we do.
So you're looking for a motion?
Yes.
So a motion will be in order for a line of credit for 3.9
Our
million.
industry would be 4.67%. depending on
How much do you need? Yeah.
So if we need 200,000, we'll just take 200,000. We don't take the full. Just paying interest on.
Borrowed amount. Just the borrowed amount.
Okay. So motion will be in order for $3.9 million line credit of 4.67%.
Here's the authorized list.
And to authorize Lewis to sign.
So moved.
Motion by Linda. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
So I have the loan documents here. I'll pass them around.
Okay.
This is where the green tab is where everything's for signatures.
Okay.
I need 30.
Contract recommendations, professional staff, FY24, contract and horizontal moves, Kristen Crook, West Rutland PE teacher, 51706. Lindsay Sabo, Pulteney High School PE long-term sub, rate to be determined. Nicole Bolvin, Proctor Elementary teacher, 4388. Lauren Harvey, Pulteney High School teacher, rehire after 1-year contract, 46,535. Dylan Zangeli, West Rutland teacher, horizontal move from 51,706 to 56,14. Mallory Buxton Erickson, Proctor Elementary teacher, horizontal move from 50,413 to 56,876. Questions? Support staff, FY23 new hire, Christopher Ballard, Pulteney High School custodian, $20.61. Caleb Kelly, West Rutland summer custodian, $13.18. Questions? Extracurricular, FY23. Melissa Christensen, Pulteney High School National Art Honor Society advisor. Stipend to be determined. Christina Roach, Pulteney High School National Honor Society advisor, $483 stipend. Gary Holder, Proctor High School girls varsity coach, $3,000 stipend. Tabitha Perry, West Rutland summer program, $25 an hour. Wendy Douse McNaughton, West Rutland Summer Humanities Camp, $40 an hour. Dillis McLaughlin, West Rutland Summer Humanities Camp, $40 an hour. Robin Garrow, Proctor Elementary Summer Program Substitute, $20 an hour. Marie Coombs, West Rutland Summer Tutor, $40 an hour. Mary Ojala, West Rutland Summer Tutor, $40 an hour. Lisa Whitman, Pulteney Elementary Summer Program Coordinator, $50 an hour, and enrichment at $25 an hour. A motion would be in order to approve contract recommendations as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
Discussion. Why wouldn't the Art Honor Society be the same as National Honor Society for a stipend?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
It's just one of those always been like that, so.
It's not in the master agreement, so it's like, it's there for the board to set that rate and set it at the same time.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So are we setting it at that rate? Okay, good.
I mean, is everyone good with that? It seems like that, okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
483,
I'll make the motion with setting the, what
Art,
is it?
Art
Our
Honor
Honor
Society.
Society advisor, instead of to be determined there to be the same as the National Honor Society.
483, all right.
483.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Resignations, Nicole Bolvin, Proctor Elementary para, effective 6/30/23, pending approval of Quarry Valley Proctor Elementary teacher contract. And Larissa McDonald, SEL behavioral coach, effective 6/22/2023. The motion will be in order to accept the resignations as presented.
So moved.
Discussion. Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, for the fun time. Policies. All the policies are first reads. D4, volunteers and work study students. D10, renewal of personnel. D11, public complaints about personnel. F2, search and seizure of student property by school personnel. F7, student athletics, clubs, and activities. H5, Title I, Part A, parental involvement policy. E10, fire and emergency preparedness drills. And E11, control and visitor management. A motion would be in order to accept the policies as presented and send for second read, for second reading.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Kristen. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. General public comment. Is there anyone present from the public that would like to speak?
Gosh,
Where is it?
gosh,
All right, Tosh.
Thank you. I'm sorry I missed the first part of the meeting, so I realized there was public comment earlier. I didn't quite get to it. I know this was something that was brought up at the previous school board meeting, but I just wanted to come back, and I'm addressing this to the board in regards to the letters that were written to Eric Maxim. I assume you had time to look at them and read them. I know there were many. So I didn't know if anyone might have a comment or something to say in regards to them that's a school board member. I would appreciate if they might.
No one present has anything to share. Thank you.
Okay, well, since I know I have a minute or two left, okay, I'll just make a comment and then I'll let you be on your way for the rest of your meeting. I guess I'm a little bit confused and don't understand why I don't see anything personally or professionally why this person wasn't chosen, because if there was something questionable, I don't see why he would have worked at our school for 6 years. I don't understand why he would have been allowed to be do a student teaching at our district and also already have gotten another job at another school district outside of our district. So I question the validity of the choice for those that said no. And I understand you may have obviously had your own reasons. I just hope that school board townspeople, that if they're satisfied with your decision, and I'm sure there are many, that they continue to vote you in. But I do hope that others will question and ponder the validity of your choices when they do vote down the road for school board members. And I do thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. All right, is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right, seeing none.
Can we do
Oh,
Rachel Todd?
Wait a minute, I would like to speak, please.
Yes, we have yours.
all right, go ahead.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Rachel Totten. I am a parent with 2 children at Polteny, one at the elementary school and one at the high school. I'm coming to the board this evening because I am concerned about the quality of education my children are receiving based on the recent incidents at Polteny High School. I would like to ask, what behavioral policies are in place to address the current behavior of the students in the high school?
What behavioral policies are this?
Right. So
Okay.
are we gonna get in Q&A over?
No.
Okay.
All right,
Excuse me, I didn't hear you.
These are
So-
items, if she has questions, we can have myself or Joe reach out to her. Or bring it
Right.
back to the next
so the
meeting,
superintendent or principal will reach back out to you with responses,
Or to bring it next meeting.
or we can respond to you at the next meeting.
Can I let the board know what I'm speaking to specifically before I finish?
Not if you're speaking about a group, referring to students or a particular incident. Absolutely not.
Let's speak in general.
You can speak in general terms, but that is it.
I'm concerned about the vandalism as a taxpayer. I am concerned about the distractions in the classroom due to behavioral issues. I'm concerned about students being blocked out of classrooms and bathrooms. Thank
So
you.
these are issues that should be going to your principal. These are not issues that should be coming to the board. So we will
My
have
principal is aware. Thank you.
the principal and the superintendent will be in touch. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? All right.
Yeah, oh, excuse me, I'd like to speak on that comment that you just made. I'm a parent of a high school student at Bolton. And my son's a good student.
And your name?
Excuse me, my name's Susan here. And when I hear you defer that, I wonder what is the purpose of the school board? And when I hear my son talk about what's going on at school, I want to focus on the positive too. But if this isn't the platform to discuss that, and the school board isn't setting that process in place for the principals to apply, then what platform would that? I understand you talk to the principal, but what policies are you putting in place for the whole school district to address in general any concerns from parents when there's stuff like this happening at school? And what are the policies of the school district for consequences for these? I'd like to know if this is happening at Proctor. I would like to know if this is happening at West Rutland, and if it's not, why? What's the distinction between the way the 2 and 3 separate school systems operate that caused that situation? My son was denied going to honors night last night because of this. His friend, who he's at Civil Air Patrol today with, is a student at Pulte and has a bleeding kidney and 2 black eyes because of what's going on. I understand that it's not just happening in the school, and I understand that the school district is doing their best. It's a parental issue, but it's also happening. Something's going on in the school as well, and I think there needs to be zero tolerance. Our kids need to be safe when they go into the school. And if we're not addressing it here, Tori, you dictate the process that goes on at the school. So I think it does need to be discussed here. I understand it's probably an ongoing investigation. There's a lot of rumors going on and a lot of scuttlebutt going on Facebook, which is not the place to discuss this. But I'm a concerned parent that's looking for answers and safety for my child. I want to know when I send my child to school that they're going to be safe. I don't feel that way. And I'd like the school board to address it.
So I think we had the superintendent and the school resource officer address that before this. As you well said, there are limited things to which we can say and can't say here in public session. And with respect to policy and those kinds of things, I mean, our policies are all on the website, so policies are available for public consumption. And, you know, concern should always first go to, if not the teacher, but to the building principal, and from the building principal, then to the superintendent. After there is a hierarchy of how things are reported before they come to the board is always the last resort, the way policies and procedures are put into place.
Okay, so can you speak to the policy? Is it a cross the board policy for Pulte? I understand I can.
Yes, the policies are not just for Corey Valley, they're for the GRCSU. So whether you reside in Rutland Town or Proctor, the policies are the same for all students and teachers and parents.
So we had to realize that there was going to be parents
and concerned parents going to be here tonight asking questions. So
And what's your name?
Mary Nichols. My kids go to Pullman also. I'm not one of these parents that's gonna I don't have a pitchfork. I'm not here to like make waves. I'm just a concerned parent. You kind of probably didn't you know that there was going to be people on the Google Meets and here wanting to know some answers and being concerned?
And that's what we addressed. That's what the superintendent addressed, and that's what the school resource officer addressed. And I would think that parents, whether you're here or on Google Meets, if the situation was reversed, you would understand that there are limited things to which this board can share or discuss in public. And it doesn't, that's just the way it is. And I think the superintendent and the resource officer tried to speak to what happened, the process we went through, the steps we took, how things went on last night. And it's unfortunate. It's a drag that a small group of people messed it up for the majority. But I mean, we are addressing it. We do have plans in place and we are moving forward.
Just kind of wish and I'm not saying you don't, but like kind of put yourself in our shoes as parents, being concerned and worried to send our kids to school when this is happening. Like my son gets questions on going to the bathroom because of the destruction and the property being destroyed in the bathrooms. My son has to tell his teacher that he's going 1 or 2 out loud in front of a class. Should that really be happening?
You have to do that.
Right? And I understand
It's not unique to Pullman. It's not. It's a pervasive issue that's going on in all the schools. I'm not putting blame on anybody,
No.
but it's time to have a zero tolerance on this stuff and step up as adults and say, we're not putting up with that. It's not fair to the kids that come to school to try to learn. It's detracting from these kids. They can't learn in an environment like that. And I feel the same way. I feel like I support the school. I do it. I support my son's class. I'm a co-advisor in his class. My son's relatively laid back, but this is an escalating issue that's pervasive. It's going into all it. I know other school districts are having that, but it needs, and I understand it's in the process, but we need to, it needs to be aggressively dealt with. And I hope that's what you're doing. When you're being very general about it, you can't talk about it, I get it, but I hope it's being aggressively addressed.
I mean, I love Pullman. I graduated in 1998, class of 1998 from Pullman. I am very happy that my children attend Pullman and get to lead, Blue and Gold and do everything that I did as a high school student. And I think that's what makes me even more concerned. I love Pullman and I just find it very scary. And just
Did you beat up at school?
No,
Oh.
and he did not, but it kind of started there. And
Okay.
I'm not blaming, it's not,
No,
it was, yeah.
Okay.
My name is Alex. I'm a parent and told you, and I would not like to make my comment fully, I guess. I just kind of wanted to add on to what you're saying. I was at the Otter Valley Unified School Board meeting on April 11th, where there was a school prep the day before or something, and they didn't do anything about it. Or at least school wasn't canceled. And what I saw when there was a school board meeting was a school board that was very receptive of the parents that came. Parents came with statements, and it was an environment where parents were really welcomed to come and talk about it. And I so far hear some parents that are expressing some really serious concerns and like really big answers. I feel like that they're receiving. It just feels a little non-compassionate, and compared to how that meeting was, that is within our region, it's within our county, and they handled it really different. And I think we can learn something from them about listening to parents and really honoring what they're saying, because it's hard to come into a space like this and share.
So we're welcoming and anyone has an opportunity to speak. I don't know that any of us are being non-compassionate or feeling about this. Many of us are parents of students or former students within our schools, and we all understand the issue at hand, and we as board members are dealing with it, and it is trying, it is upsetting, it is last night it was something that people were working on for a very, very long time, and simply because we are vague in our responses does not mean that we are not concerned, that we don't want to have a safe space. We're here because we want kids to be successful. We're here because we want kids in all of our communities to have opportunities, enrichments, and go on. No, none of us are here to create any kind of detrimental events within schools. So.
It is very hard to be a board member sometimes and to hear these things and to not have the ability because of certain things that the law says, that our district says, of how we have to abide by, and follow a chain of command, because that is the reality, and it is horrible. I subbed at the school yesterday, at the high school, because of lots of reasons. But I never want parents to ever feel that we're not hearing you and not feeling, as Lisa said, compassionate, because there are, but there's just, a board can only do so much. In terms of, Mike brought it up the other night, in terms of, we deal with the money. You saw it tonight, we dealt with the money stuff, and it's just so hard sometimes to do that. But that is the job that we are obligated to do. And it doesn't mean that we are not listening to you and not feeling that there needs to be things done. But
when you tell them to take it somewhere else and mention it somewhere else, or to look at the policy, that doesn't feel like you're.
I know. But that is also the problem is too, is that the board deals with policy. The administration deals with procedure of how things run. And that is how boards run. And if the board at Otter Valley, you felt they were more compassionate, I don't want you to feel that we are not compassionate towards this, because it is so hard to be in the community and know all these things that are going on, and you are in a way helpless because, as Lisa said, we have to follow a certain way of doing things. But we don't want you to stop making phone calls to the people that you feel you need to make phone calls to. And the superintendent is always, open to phone calls as well. So don't feel that we don't feel this, because we do. And we do care about these kids. And if there was some way that all of us as a board could somehow fix this problem, we would do that in a heartbeat. But there's just certain things that the board can do. But keep doing that, keep following through, and keep talking and keep going. There's a select board Monday. Go to, if you feel that they can hear you, go and talk with them also. But don't stop talking about it. Offering support to each other, and there might be ways that we can help each other after school as well. But we are stuck by certain policies and certain legislation that says to us, this is what we have to do. But none of the 4 Pulteney people and none of the West Rutland or the proctor or the superintendent feel less than we're just dying inside because it's awful. It's horrible. We don't
Chris?
want our schools to run like that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I appreciate the work that you do because it's hard. You're caught between parents, the legislative process, everything, and I appreciate that one. Thank you.
That's why I wanted to come. I'm not here to point fingers or pitchforks or any. It was just I'm simply concerned.
Right. There's fear. There's fear. And with fear comes anger and all kinds of stuff. But again, we talk about this and we try, but we just have to work together, keep following through, keep working through. If you need to contact even the police have been great about, if you feel the need, call the police, and talk to them because they're there to support our schools and certainly in Pulteney. And they are also bound by law and policy and procedure as well. And sometimes we feel that we're stuck in a box because of it. I know I do. I know principals do. I know superintendent does sometimes. But don't stop talking to each other. Don't stop asking. Don't stop calling because that's when change will take place. But we're behind you 100%.
Chris, do you have something to add?
No, I think what Linda did a very nice job of saying thank you. Linda was very eloquent. And I think what I want to express to the individuals here and online, I do hear you. I'm well aware of the issues, the situations. I think the past 24 hours. But there are also there's a lot of red tape and hoops that we have to move through as well. Sometimes it's a slow moving process for us, but that doesn't mean, that's our kids should have to wait for that process to take place. And so it's something which I know I've worked with many Pulteney parents and, over the course of the year that, through phone calls with Joe and with Kristen, very receptive. But I would encourage you to continue to reach out and find a way, because like I said, I think that I've said this before, and there are a lot of great students in all of our schools, in Pulteney High School. When I walk in the building, I see a lot of great kids, and the last thing I ever want to see is those students lose one bit of their educational experience. One day of that educational experience. I have a daughter, and I would not want her to ever have to lose a day for whatever reason or lose an experience. And I think it's something which we have to look at. How do we get better? How do we improve? How do we change these schools? But it's going to be a collective effort. There are things that obviously that we have to do in our schools. There's structures, there are procedures, there are approaches that we need to take. We need to draw a harder line in certain instances. But there are things that we need to do in our communities. With community sports, there are regional approaches that we need to take as well. But so it's a very complex, nuanced process. But it's something which I do hear, and I do read every single email. I get past once I pass the names that I'm being referred to, things like that, then I can then see the message, because I think at the end of the day, I hear the message. And I think what I continue to see from people is they just want the same thing I want for my daughter. That's just want their daughter have a great education, have a great experience in schools. And if anything's in that way, they just want somebody to fix that or change that. And that's something which, I've been charged with, and something which I'm going to continue working on. So, but if I can help in any way, please just continue to reach out and partner and work with you individually or as groups. So thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, the next meeting will be July 13th, and we will be here. Future agenda items, we have the facility use form, and people are going to bring samples to look at. We don't have any need for executive session.
I think we do. We have a personnel issue that we probably should go into executive session for.
Can I ask about the adding to the agenda for next month?
Sure.
I have
after speaking with Joe
Thank
and
you.
with Chris,
Thank you. Thank you.
both Joe and Chris, I've started working on a theater program proposal for Polteny. And I needed a little bit more information, so I couldn't get it ready for this month, but I would absolutely love it if I could bring it up at July meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. And so an executive session for contracts for personnel?
No. Just something for personnel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So a motion has been made to move into personnel or move into executive session for personnel.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
coming.
you, Alex.
Thank you, everybody.
At 7:30. Discussion?
Thank you, Jen. Thank you.
All those in favor?
Bye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
See you tomorrow. What time?
I'm all good for some.
Okay.